Hello guys, welcome back to another episode of the Mindset Mill podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about why do people find it so hard to ask for help? It's something which myself, introspectively, over the last 3 years, I have really started to realize where I've gone wrong. And I hadn't asked for help previously where I've really needed it. And there have been so many different reasons. And I've actually noticed it a lot over the past couple of weeks in different actions of other people, as well as my own actions, which is why we need to talk about it. Because there's so many things that will go through someone's mind when they know that they need help, or a lot of the time they're sat not taking action when actually they should ask for help. So this podcast is going to allow you to figure out, okay, if I do need help, how do I ask for it? How do I get over the hurdle which is stopping me from asking for help? And then you might actually realize that you need help, but you haven't even realized when you listen to this episode. So let's dive into things. From my own personal reflection of different things in life that I've needed help with, whether that's with my own fitness journey, whether that's with business, whether that's with mindset, there are so many different times where I've acknowledged, okay, I don't think I can do this alone, or I think I need some guidance. Or I've been in the situation where I've just kind of had enough or got to a sticking point and thought, you know what, it would be nice to just have some camaraderie to keep me motivated and to keep me disciplined. So those elements definitely tend to cause people to need some help, but it could be something as simple as like, I don't know, let's say you go into the shops, you're trying to reach for something on the top shelf, you can't quite get to it, but instead you decide to climb up the shelves to pull off that like box of cereal from the top, and then you come tumbling down. Actually, when was the last? I did that recently with a pack of caramel rice cakes. Fortunately, I was with a friend though, and she decided to climb the shelves for me. Shout out to Millie for doing that. What was hilarious though in that moment is that we realized that there was the rice cakes that we were reaching for just a little bit over that direction and to the right, but we actually hadn't noticed. Had we asked to the shop assistant that was stacking the shelves behind us, we probably would have seen that there was some rice cakes lower down. So these are the little things, like sometimes you don't even realize that you need help because you don't ask and you're just like, oh, I'll do it myself, okay? So we're going to acknowledge these different areas and the different reasons as to why people won't ask for help. I kind of think it boils down into 3 different sections. There's circumstances, there's other people, and then there's you. So you might not ask for help because of the current circumstances, because you don't feel like it's the appropriate time, like you can't receive the help, you can't do part of the process that's required of obtaining that help. Another thing is when it comes to other people, perhaps they have a role to play in providing the help. Perhaps there's some authority going on there in terms of like, are you actually able to get the help? Does it depend on someone else for you to be able to access that help? And then finally, you. What if you are the limiting factor to getting help without even realizing? So to start off pretty simply, I think one nice example is going to be something that I've heard a lot of, and I'm sure that there are so many other people who are their own business owners or who might provide some kind of service, and they've probably heard if they have offered you help, you're just accepting what they have offered you. And also, I just want to make one thing clear, like people are inherently usually good. Most businesses that are successful, if there's a successful business, it's because they are good at what they do. And no business can be successful unless its true purpose, which is, whether it's helping women get in shape or whether it's getting you to eliminate all of your self-limiting beliefs and become really confident in your mind and eliminate your anxiety, if that's like some form of therapy. Whatever that business is, they've got to be damn good at doing that thing, right? They've got to be very good at doing it, because no business grows for a long time with lots of clients or lots of customers unless they truly believe in what they do and they want to help. And this is one thing that I find fascinating, because there's a client of mine at the moment who's looking to transition into a new style of training. I said to this client, listen, I'm going to be completely honest with you here. This is not my forte. Like, this is not something that I am completely well versed in, this specific type of sport or exercise. I would be doing you a disservice if I just tried to learn on the go and to coach you throughout the the process whilst I'm still trying to figure this out. So I said to them, why don't we just look for someone who's an expert in this field to help you and guide you, and you can work with them instead. So I've been looking to transition this client over to another expert who's probably going to be able to do a better job than I would. And that's just me being completely honest, because guess what? I want the best for this client, because intrinsically, our purpose is to help women, and therefore we want the right thing. So this client's then gone and inquired with other businesses or coaches, and the responses have been, okay, here's the payment link, or okay, cool, let's hop on a 5-minute call. Yeah, here's what I can do for you. Do you like the sound of it? And when are you going to sign up? And immediately that just makes me freaking cringe, because those businesses or those coaches are not running from a perspective of where they're interested about the individual and really trying to help the individual. Like, that broke my heart that one of my clients, who is very, very well looked after, has had to then go and just be treated as a number elsewhere. And that's because I wholeheartedly believe that those are not businesses with good intentions, or they're just people who don't know that they're good enough to help others, because it's about them. They were like, cool, here's the payment link to sign up, or cool, this is what we can offer you, sign up. And that's them caring about themselves. Like, whenever a client might inquire with us, we'll spend 30 to 45 minutes of me just asking them questions and mapping out their plan and earning trust straight off the bat to be like, here's what we can do for you, and let's figure out if we'd be a good fit to work together. So this is what I mean. Most good people, most good businesses that can offer you help, even when it's offered for free, they genuinely mean it, because it's not just a case of them trying to, take you on as a client. A lot of the time they'll genuinely be wanting to help, at least from our perspective, that's the case. But also my point boils down to, when something is offered to you in the format of help or guidance, do not feel like you're going to be insulting the person by saying that you can't afford the service or the product. It's 110% not the case. You have the opportunity to seek help and guidance and to build, some trust. And should you ever have circumstances change in the future where you can invest into a service, okay, great. But it doesn't change the fact that it's still important to go and explore your options and ask for help rather than worrying about offending someone. Like, perfect example, I just got off a call with a lady a couple of days ago where I mapped out a game plan for her and I said, hey, this is what I think you should be doing. So by the way, what do you think about coaching? Is that something that you'd be interested in? And she said, oh, can you tell me a bit more? And, she was like, do you know what? I'm so sorry. I've been through some really difficult life circumstances, and certain things just have to take priority for me. And I'm really sorry. As much as I'd love to join Team CBM, I can't afford it. And I was like, okay, cool. Well, I don't want you to go away empty-handed. You've got the game plan that we spoke about. So here's a fat loss webinar, a webinar on emotional eating, and a guide with some recipes for fat loss. And I gave her half of our education portal inventory for fat loss because, she spent her time reaching out to us, asking for our help. We're never going to let her down just because she can't afford it. That doesn't make her a bad person. I don't think that she's a bad person because she can't afford it. So this whole point boils back down to, some people won't ask for help because they think the circumstances aren't right. They think, oh, because I can't afford the help or because I can't invest into the help, I'm just not going to seek it. But think about how much you're losing, right? Think about how much you're losing. So put yourself in the shoes of this lady who came to me and was asking for some guidance on fat loss advice. She did initially say, hey, I don't think I'll be able to afford it. And I said, it doesn't matter whether you can't afford it. Let's just hop on a call and explore what game plan you should have. And then if you can afford it, amazing. If not, worst case scenario is that you've got all of these resources and a game plan to go away with. And off she went with some more clarity. She won't have myself directly helping her exactly on how to do these things, but she's got enough information with her willpower, which she definitely had, to go and implement it herself. So question yourself, is there anything going on in life for you right now where you're kind of thinking that you need some expert advice, but you're like, do you know what? I just feel reluctant because I almost know that I won't be able to afford the help, or maybe I won't be able to make time or invest as much energy and effort into something. It doesn't change the fact that you'll always be better off after asking someone for help and finding out more information, because at least then you've got options. So do not allow circumstances to be one of the defining factors of whether you are actually reaching out and asking for help, which is super easily available in the 21st century. I'm not even joking. You can probably learn half of what you need to learn in life. Actually, I changed my mind. Not even half. 80% of what you need to know in life, you could learn on YouTube. I'm not even joking. You're probably watching this on YouTube right now. You're probably watching How Do I Ask for Help, right? You can learn so much just from reaching out. You can take it one step further and drop me a message and say, hey, Mills, can you help me out a little bit more with this and this, right? Immediately you're expanding your horizons. So stop putting this imaginary barrier for circumstances getting in the way, because it really doesn't need to stop you. So there's a couple of other notes that I've written because I did have so many things come to mind. The time is another circumstance. I don't know whether you guys have heard of the when then fallacy, right? When I am cured, then I will go to hospital. Have you ever heard anyone say that? When I am cured, then I will go to hospital. No, because hospital is there for when you need it, for when you're injured, right? So why is it the case that people always are assuming that they're going to ask for help in the perfect conditions? It does not make any sense. If you rationalize this, let's say you want to get some guidance on how you can develop your side hustle into being a fully fledged business, and that's going to allow you to leave your job that you don't like. Okay? So what you might think is, okay, when I have some time off work, then I will reach out to a mentor or to a business coach so that I can start having some guidance from them on how I can put more effort into my side hustle. So you're telling me you're going to wait 12 weeks to reach out to someone when you think you'll have more time? Guess what you're going to want to do during that time? You'll probably want to just have complete downtime. And you're probably not going to want to, just elevate and build your side hustle when it comes to that time that you've got off. Because here's the thing. If you're busy now, you're going to be busy in the future. So making changes now whilst you're busy is the best thing that you can do, because it'll be hard now and easier later, right? Hard now, easy later. Or you can have it be easy now and harder down the line when it's 5 years into the future and you haven't built your side hustle. Like, you've really got to think about the fact that sometimes the worst circumstances are the ones where it's best to begin. And also, when you're beginning a process or quote unquote getting help, it's going to be more than just making one simple change in your life. There's going to be consecutive things that you're going to have to do. And therefore, it's not like there's going to be a perfect time. Over time, you're going to have to do different things, learn different behaviors, change your habits. Like, there's going to be so many different elements to it. So this when then fallacy of, oh, when I have more time, or when the kids go back to school, or when I have a little bit of a calmer period in life, or when I've moved into my new home, like, it's honestly crap. And to anyone who's waiting for the right time, unless it genuinely is tied into financial investments and you would be putting yourself at a disadvantage because you literally have no money, unless it's tied into the financial aspect of things, which we just spoke about, it doesn't actually make any sense to be putting getting help on hold because you think it's going to be easier further down the line. The sooner that you can accept that if you're in discomfort and if it's hard now and if you're busy now, it will actually only get easier. And guess what? You'll get busy again in the future. So these circumstances of time, these circumstances of, worrying about affordability or worrying about letting others down, these are the things that are holding you back from getting clarity on what you should be doing. Because so many people are stuck in the same rut or are not moving forwards because of what? Because they don't know how to, right? And the only thing that's stopping them finding out the how is because they're too worried about asking, or they think there'll be a better time. And if you're hearing this and you're like, oh, you know what? Like, the shoe kind of fits. You've got to always ask yourself, what is the worst case scenario? What's the worst case scenario if I start now whilst I'm busy? You might think, oh, I really won't have as much time to dedicate to it as I want to. Guess what? When something's your priority, you carve out time for it. Maybe the reason why you're not actually committing to it now is because it's not as much of a priority as you think it is. But if it's not a priority, then own that. Say it's not a priority. I can use a perfect example of myself when it came to my bodybuilding prep that obviously you guys who have watched my most recent podcast will listen to, and you will have known that I quit my bodybuilding prep. Why? Well, because it wasn't a priority and my priority was elsewhere. I wanted to spend time elsewhere. But that's something that you have to admit, right? Before going to ask for help, or before allowing yourself to kind of like eliminate those circumstances from being an issue. It's not the fact that it's not the right time. It's just actually not enough of a priority for you. The sooner that you own that decision, the more comfortable you'll feel about the fact that you're in the position you are. A lot of people will be struggling with things, even down to emotional eating, right? They'll be emotionally eating and they'll be like, oh, it's a really difficult time because I've got loads of social events. So I don't think, I should start working on my eating habits because they're always going to be so different. Well, guess what? You're always going to have social events and you're always going to have to learn how to manage around those. And your emotional eating is not going to go away if you eliminate all your social events, right? So you start now. Or maybe it's just not enough of a priority for you. Maybe your emotional eating isn't bothering you that much, or your bad eating habits, whatever it is. So these are the things I want you to start considering before you blame the conditions on circumstances. And you can see through people, I think we've all been there where we've had like a friend that's been like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this at this point. And they're all talk. They're all talk and they always give an excuse for something. And we all know people like that who can always excuse themselves, and they'll use something like time, affordability, then I will do it. And we know that they're just chat and breeze. Like, the reason that they are like that is because they can't admit to themselves that whatever they're trying to do is not a priority. So don't be like that friend that just chats shit. You are what you do, not what you say you will do. So if you can show up and say, do you know what? I know that this thing isn't great, but it's actually not my priority right now. These are my priorities. When that shifts to become my priority, I'm going to ask for help. And that is a really, really nice way to stop feeling so guilty. If you're feeling guilty for not asking for help, then actually by speaking out loud and saying, do you know what? I don't really care that much about that thing. It allows you to just breathe. When I was like, you know what? I don't care about bodybuilding anymore. I didn't feel this pressure of like this imaginary bubble of eyes I'd imagined were on me, like in this imaginary bubble of people putting pressure on me or me putting pressure on myself. It wasn't there anymore because I just said, I don't care about it enough. And then you move on. So I'm just interrupting my own podcast, which I'm sure that you guys are going to absolutely hate that I'm doing, just to say, if what I've been saying so far has resonated with you and it's hit a nerve and you're like, okay, I definitely could use some help, whether that's with your fitness, whether that's with your mindset, whether it's becoming confident in body and mind, which is exactly what we stand for at Team CBM. That is our mission. Then go over to my Instagram, Millie_Team CBM, and send me the word help. I will get back to you with some guidance to get you pointed in the right direction. And as I said, I don't bite. I'm literally just here to help you. And you never know what you'll get out of me. You'll probably get a little present or something. So please do reach out and send me that word help on Instagram. Back to the podcast. So going on to category number 2. So this is others, and this is how others will influence your decision on whether you are going to ask for help or not. So a lot of the time, we might be worried about what other people think, or we might need the approval of other people. So, for instance, when you're younger, you might need the approval of a parent to start working with a personal trainer in a gym. That's a perfect example. Or if you are investing into, I don't know, a mindset coach, a life coach, a business mentor, and you have a joint account and share your money with your partner, you might need to consult your partner on, is it okay if I put this much money into this? So these are the circumstances that can often hold a lot of people back, or again, they use it as an excuse as to why they're not taking action and asking for help or receiving help. If you think about the type of people that you surround yourself with and the type of people that are going to be included in this decision, it should be those who support you and want the best for you anyway. It really is something where your perception of what someone else might think or what they might say will stop you from actually getting to where you need to be. I've had it happen before where there have been ladies who have been so upset within their own skin. They've been genuinely like so unconfident that they'd never even take their clothes off in the bedroom. Like, it has ruined their sex life, and they have never even had intimate moments with their partners for years on end. And we'll get onto a call and they'll say, oh, okay, I'm going to have to ask my partner if, they're happy for me to invest. I'm not sure what they'll say. And they're kind of ashamed to speak to their partner about it. There's a lot of women who think that doing like a fat loss phase or changing their body and doing it secretly is like the right thing to do. Maybe out of fear that they're going to disappoint themselves or disappoint others. But regardless of whatever the reasoning is, this perfect example of women who have to get that approval from their partners, often when they've got the most supportive partners, they don't even need to ask. Like, they just say, hey, I was thinking of getting a coach and getting someone to help me feel a little bit better and confident in myself. And their partner's like, yes, absolutely. Like, I would love that for you. I would love that for us. It's going to change your confidence. It's going to change our life. Like, we're going to be ultimately so much happier. Like, yes, 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 that's amazing. If you're not getting that response, then you've got to ask, where is that person's priorities? Because if their priority is not there, is their priority your happiness? Is their priority supporting you completely? Are you happy and okay with that? That's a question that only you can truly answer. But my point is, most of the people that you might need approval from are already going to want the best for you. And they're really going to want you to be happy. So worrying about whether you can get approval from them doesn't really matter, because if you think about it, if you know that they want what's right for you and you know that they want you to be happier, then you're in the driver's seat. Like, that's your decision. You're just going to say to them, hey, I'm doing this, right? Like, you are in the driver's seat of your life. Simple. No one else gets to decide what's going to truly make you happy from inside. All of that is your choice. And if you know that asking for help and excelling to a new level in life is going to get you happier, then you don't necessarily have to get someone else's approval for that. You can just say to them, hey, I love you. I'm going to do this because I know that you're going to support me because it's going to make me happy. Great. Like, that's it. Another thing when it comes down to others is victim mentality. There's a case where people can often think that other people have had it harder than them in life, harder situations, harder circumstances. They haven't dealt with what other people have who have maybe had it worse. And so they almost kind of feel like a little bit ashamed to be asking for help, or they feel like they shouldn't need to ask for help. I think I've definitely experienced this in pursuit of growing a business before. I've been sat there thinking like, I'm really struggling with this thing, but everyone else, even if they've like come from a position where, they've been doing this for less time than I have, or they've had a lot more hurdles and obstacles, I've kind of been like, they seem to be doing like okay, and why am I the one that needs help? Like, why am I the one that's not in a better position? And you get kind of like embarrassed and ashamed, and you kind of wonder what other people might think. And just because of your own self-critic, it stops you from asking for the help that you need, because you kind of feel like you might either be judged or that you should have it figured out yourself. If someone else who's been in a more difficult scenario has managed to pull through and sort it through themselves, then why can't you do that? I see this again and again a lot of the time with those who have family members who have completely transformed their health and have completely transformed their physique. Maybe their family members had some tragedies happen and they've had an illness, but they've still managed to pull through themselves, and they've, completely changed their life for the better. And then maybe you're in a situation where you haven't had as much quote unquote direct and obvious trauma or tragedies, yet you're really struggling. And you're like, oh, but I should be able to figure this out myself. Like, and I don't want to ask for help and say that I need more help or more guidance. Like, I freaking even remember that when I was like in year 8 in maths class. Like, there were the kids that were, I was going to say there were the kids that from the council estate, but that was me. I was one of the kids from the council estate. I was one of these kids that was from the council estate, and there were kids that were perhaps less in a slightly worse position. Like, let's say if they didn't have as much money, or they had like really turbulent home, really turbulent childhood, like in those scenarios, I'd be there really struggling with my maths homework and with what I was trying to do. And then I see them doing better, but I wouldn't ask the teacher for help because if they could do it, then why couldn't I do it? That's a perfect example. But the matter of fact is, it doesn't make a difference because there is no shame in asking for help. In fact, there is shame in just sitting there and struggling by yourself when there is the opportunity to ask for help, right? I think sometimes people just don't understand the opportunity that is there for you to ask for help. Like, another perfect example, this is gonna crack me up, but recently I had one of my friends saying that they were struggling for a very, very simple habit, which is day-to-day taking their supplements, right? And I don't even mean like they were struggling with building the habit of taking their supplements. It was like they can't take pills. They literally can't take big pills and swallow them because it's really uncomfortable. They don't like it. And they've just stopped doing it, and they start taking like supplements and medication that they genuinely need and is really important for their health because they've been like fighting with swallowing these supplements. And we were having the discussion, and it's just like, yeah, I've just been avoiding doing it. But there has got to be a different answer. There has got to be a different alternative. And this is, again, where it comes back down to where I was like, you can literally learn anything on YouTube nowadays. I was like, have you tried to figure out how to take them in a way that isn't so difficult? No. Okay. Is that because you're not being resourceful, or is it because it doesn't matter enough to you, or you haven't actually got to the point where it's that much of an issue of you not taking your supplements for a long enough time, or you're just about managing to the point where you still can't be asked to go and find a better way? And this is one thing definitely throughout building a business, and also throughout becoming an entrepreneur and becoming a CEO of a company. Team CBM has massively grown since I started it. It was just me coaching at the very start. Now we've got Coach Joe on board. We've got a social media manager. We've got an assistant. There's a few contractors that we work with. There's now this growing team and all of these people that I need to manage. And when it comes to finding myself in this situation, I don't have time to not have the right way figured out, right? Because the longer that I can't figure something out, the longer the business isn't moving forward, people aren't getting the best possible improved service that they can get. And I am not willing to waste time because I don't want to let other people down, but also there's so many different facets that come into it where other people rely on you. So let's say, for instance, when it comes to not being able to know how to set up some kind of software that needs to be done, whether that's, some kind of email marketing. This is like a random example. I don't have time to not know the answer. So I can either sit there and struggle with it and try and figure it out for ages, or I can reach out to people who I know would know how to use that thing. I can Google it myself. I can YouTube it myself. I can pay someone else to do it. But every single extra second of time that is ticking by, and you can think about this in your own life as well, every single second that is ticking by is wasted opportunity. It's sadness. Like, the more time that you're wasting is just more sadness and less happiness. And the reason why I say that is because if you are stuck in limbo and if you are just trying to figure your shit out, like, yes, we all need to spend time learning, but if you are not actually proactively searching and trying to find a way to move forwards and learning from other people's mistakes and other people's knowledge, you are just spending more time in sadness and not in more time happiness where you are succeeding and moving forwards. And that is just a mindset of, it's not a mindset of a winner. That's the way that I'm going to put it. If you're happy to sit there in stagnancy and not trying to find a way to make things work or not trying to learn more, what kind of mindset is that? So I know it boils down to something as simple as this person, my friend, doesn't know how to take supplements and they weren't doing anything about it. But I was like, okay, so what happens in 7 to 10 days time where you feel like shit and you haven't taken these supplements? And then you get sick, and then you're sick for a week or two on end, and then it affects your work. And then you can't work. So you have to take time off work so you don't get paid. And then you haven't got money to do the nice things that make you feel good. There's always a knock-on effect, and that's not even catastrophizing. That is literally just, why don't you actually think of what is the worst case scenario? Do I like the worst case scenario? No. So what's the easiest, most simple thing that I could do? I could probably set an alarm. I could put those supplements somewhere that I see them every single day, like on top of my laptop or on top of the coffee machine. And I'm going to sit and watch a few YouTube videos for the next 10 minutes on how to drink some water first, then put the supplements in, then swig back some water and tilt my head back so that they don't get stuck in my throat. Oh, okay, great. Now I can take my supplements every day from 10 minutes of change, right? And you don't end up getting sick. These are the kind of things that people a lot of the time won't do. And I'm going to tell you why. And this is another thing that's going to stop you from asking for help. It's because the pain of changing is too much, or the pain of staying the same is not enough. So I was unhappy and pretty miserable in my body for a few years. I'd probably say probably until I was 19 years old, but definitely noticed it more when I was like, I'd say 13, 14. So for pretty much my whole teens. Of course, I was younger at that point, and my mindset towards asking for help wasn't as developed as it is now. But could I have done something earlier? Definitely. I could have said to a parent like, hey, I don't think it's just puppy fat. Like, I'm really getting bullied at school. I don't know how to handle the bullies. I feel really upset. I feel really self-conscious. I'm twice the size of the other girls. Like, I just hate my body and I hate my life. I could have said that to a parent, right? Who could have definitely pointed me in the right direction, got me to join a sports club. That parent could have researched how I should have been eating, all of this good stuff. But I didn't, okay? So it took me until I had got really, really sick and diagnosed with inflammatory bowel disease whilst at uni to then actually go and do my own research to figure out how can I lose body fat? How can I eat for health? How can I begin exercising? Because the pain of being in that same position where I was sick, like so unwell to the point where I was told that I was chronically going to have inflammation in my gut and internal bleeding. At that point, it was painful enough that I should have tried to change. You know, for some people, even at that point, they just think they're destined to be like that forever. You know, they won't change. Now, please hear me out. I'm not saying that anyone with IBD has full control of it, because that's very much so not the case. It doesn't change the fact, though, whatever freaking illness or disease you have, you can look after your body better always. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you've got. You can always do better to look after your body, keep your stress levels low, make sure that you're managing your health nicely. Okay. So that's something where the pain of staying in the same position had to get to a certain saturation point where I was like, fuck, I need to change. Right. But sometimes for some people, the pain of changing is too much. And it was for me initially when I was diagnosed with inflammatory bowel disease. I was in my second year of uni. I wanted to party. I wanted to go out. I still wanted to drink alcohol and all the other recreational things. And I got sick. And within a month of feeling better, I went straight back to my old habits. Some of you guys might have experienced this from when it comes to like losing a set amount of body fat. You feel better. You go straight back to your old eating habits. Guess what? If you haven't changed the behaviors, then you haven't actually got to the problem, to the root cause of the problem that's caused you to be where you are in the first place. You know, my gut had chronic inflammation from all the shit that I was putting into my body and from all the stress that I was going through. I got better. I went straight back to being highly stressed and putting shit into my body. Guess what? I got sick again. Well, okay, great. How blessed I am to have a body that reminds me of when I'm not treating it well. Okay. So these are the other things. If you gain back loads of body fat after you've lost body fat, guess what? You haven't learned the lesson right. That's life trying to tell you something. You haven't learned how to change. You need to go back and revise. If you're doing deadlifts and you hurt your back, and then you go back to doing deadlifts and you hurt your back again, guess what? You haven't learned how to do deadlifts properly. Start again, okay? There is a reason that all of these patterns keep reoccurring. And you will notice these patterns in different spots of your life. You know, that absolutely amazes me to the point where I still keep realizing certain patterns of things that are happening in my life that I'm not happy with. And I'm like, damn, I thought I got to the root cause. It's not the root cause. It's something else, right? But regardless of that, we've got to consider, you have got to be ready to accept the fact that changing will be painful. It can either be hard now, as we said, or it can be hard later. What do you want? You can feel like shit now, or you can feel like shit whilst you change, because it will be hard to change and you'll feel like shit whilst you change, but you can still feel like shit if you don't change, right? But you just might feel a little bit more crap whilst you are working hard to change, but in the future it'll be easier. Otherwise, if you choose the easy option not to change now because the pain of staying the same isn't quite enough to get you to change, then guess what? In a few months' time, in a few years' time, it's going to be very, very difficult for you. You've got to admit to yourself you don't know what you're doing. And if you've got a big ego, which you probably don't realize, a lot of people who have big egos don't realize that they have big egos, but you have got to admit that you actually don't know what you're doing, or you've got to admit to yourself that you're unhappy, and admitting to yourself that you're not happy and that you don't know what you're doing in life is actually quite challenging. You've got to put yourself in the position where you're like, damn, like I actually have no idea what I'm doing. And now I've got to ask myself, am I in a position where I'm happy enough to start to make those changes? And it's very, very challenging. It's very challenging to actually transition your mindset to be like, okay, I acknowledge that I'm unhappy. I acknowledge that, I've got to do something. So let's go. In my honest opinion, this is where that question of what's the worst case scenario will always come in. It's such an important question, but you've got to see what are the repercussions of your decisions right now to stay in the same position, to not ask for help. So with these different categories, whether it's the circumstances, whether it's what other people and their influences, or whether it's all boiling down to you, there is something, maybe even there's like several different hurdles that you've got to overcome to get to that position where you can finally ask for help. And this podcast is there to help you define what those reasons are that you haven't asked for help. It's there to help you figure out, okay, why am I in a situation where actually I'm super unhappy? Or maybe it's, I can't remember the last time that I asked anyone for help. Or, I can't remember the last time that I tried to do anything to like improve certain areas in my life. Guess what? That probably means that you're not working hard enough to become a happy person, because I am always seeking help. I'm seeking information from other people. I'm seeking mentorship from other people. I'm constantly seeking opinions and thoughts and extra knowledge from other people. And I'm also looking at myself and saying, hey, are you sure that you know everything that there is to know in all of these regions? Are you sure that there's nothing more that you should be doing? And I really want you to know that if this has resonated with you, like if this has hit a nerve and you've been like, okay, I should have asked for help a long time ago, but some of these things have maybe stopped me from doing it. Maybe I'm worried about, the cost of investing into myself. Maybe I'm worried about the fact that I'm going to have to change and be ready to change. Or maybe, it hasn't been enough of a priority, but I think it is now. Whatever those circumstances are, if you're kind of realizing actually you've been holding yourself back and therefore there's that ticking time bomb, where you're just elongating you not being in a happy position. If you want more for yourself, and if you genuinely just want to take the first simple step to becoming a happier person, do you know what? All it's going to take is this. Just heading over to my Instagram profile, Millie, MILLIE _team CBM. Go to my Instagram profile, hit message and send me the word help. 4 letters, help. And simply from that, I can ask you a couple of questions that will at least point you in the right direction. And with every single one of those steps, you're going to be in a better and more fortunate position to have direction and clarity on how things can improve for you in whatever area of life you're not feeling completely satisfied in. All it takes is a couple of tiny action steps. And this is what I'm trying to explain, that helping yourself is as simple as you want to make it. But the reason why you haven't done these things are silly little mindset thoughts that we have to ourselves. Oh, maybe I can't afford it. Maybe now's not the right time. Oh, maybe I should be able to do it because someone else has been able to do it. Or maybe my partner won't support me. Like all of these little things, they're assumptions, right? And it's not the reality. And if it is the worst case scenario that these things are genuine barriers, then maybe that help wasn't right for you in the first place. So with that being said, I want you to write to me, guys. Obviously, send me the word help if there is something I can help with. But if this has prompted you to go and take one simple step to start a journey of helping you in the right direction, please drop me a message on Instagram to let me know what you've done. The one thing that you've done to start your journey of moving forward in the right direction, no matter how big and no matter how small, I would really appreciate that because it makes me know that you guys are listening. And also, if you think that this would help anyone, just even listening to this podcast, you're helping others, then please put it on your story. Please tag me. I would massively, massively appreciate it. Whether you're listening on Spotify or YouTube, Apple Podcasts, any of those platforms, please do share it and leave a rating. It's massively, massively appreciated. Or if on YouTube, you can leave a little comment below. So I will catch you guys in the next one. Much love. Thank you as always for listening.